Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Zagger-tastic stream. It is I, your friend, the one, the only, ZA Single God Zaggard. And I hope you're all having a wonderful morning, noon, night, evening, whatever time it is for you today. Welcome back to the Dragon's Den, friends. Excuse me. I just had a little bit of a snack. Gotta fix my light here real quick. It was pushing into my microphone. There we go. There we go. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I hope we are all ready for today's stream. Today is a special one, a very, very special one. Let me remind you. But before we do so, we have a couple thank yous. We have to thank Azur Okami for following, Akategite for following, Kazepierre, and Feartemeister 2007. Thank all of you for following the Dragon's Den. Welcome, friends. Welcome. And I hope you're all having a wonderful morning, noon, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. Today, it is Monday for me at 3:06, and we have something very special planned, something that we were asked to do last Friday. We got Azur Okami, as in Azur Wolf. Heck yeah, Wolf is always welcome. That is true. And are we lettuces now, Marinist? We're lettuces? Are we lettuce heads? Is that what we're calling ourselves? The lettuce heads? Yes, a new soul to consume. Marinist, no, we don't do that. Aww, but souls taste so good. Well, I will bring chaos to this galaxy then. Fair. But anyways, guys, today we have the thing asked for by you, created by me, about me, more or less, a tier list into Batman's villains, and we're gonna do we're gonna do Batman's top 30 villains. All the first 30 villains that I saw. I just typed in Batman villains, looked at the first 30 on the list, and went, we're gonna do a tier list of these guys, and we're gonna rank them best to worst, as you can see. So we've got the S tier, the God Almighty super tier. We've got the A tier, you know, really good, solid, always worthwhile watching. The B tier, getting a little average. The C tier, just kind of basic. The D tier, you know, take it or leave it. The E tier, sure, and the F tier, just total garbage. Don't need them. Just get them out of here. Now we'll see if anybody even reaches the F tier. We might just get the other tiers, but maybe we'll get an F tier. And I was gonna change the colors around originally because my favorite color is purple, and I would have made purple a top. But I was lazy and did not do that. So there you go. But anyways, so let's start off this Batman sort of review. Review of their characters. And I actually have a special little hat here. This little hat right here. I'll give you a sneak peek into what it might be. There, that one yellow dot. If you can figure out what it is, this is a special hat I got at a convention at one point. And inside the hat, let me show you here without spilling everything out, are all the names written down. So we're gonna do this just completely by random order. I'm not gonna do anyone by any first. We're just gonna reach into the hat, and I'm gonna push the hat a little forward so I don't look in. And the first one we're doing is here, just to show you I actually wrote them, and you can tell I wrote them because I misspelled the second name here by accident by putting an R in for some reason. TwoFace. Yeah, I don't know why I started putting an R in face, but I did. So it's gonna be TwoFace. Scrooge McDuck. I will give Harley like a top B tier. So let's start with TwoFace. So TwoFace is kind of an interesting character. I'm gonna zoom in on his picture real quick. So I like TwoFace's whole like mentality split. Like he wants to do good, but he's also obsessed with evil because of the horrible thing that happened to his face. I find that very interesting, the whole split personality part. And the fact that he has to use coins. But at the same time, he's kind of very simple. It's so easy to make a joke out of him. Like there was that one live action Batman movie where literally Batman beats it by throwing a bunch of coins in the air. And then he's like, no, and then he falls off. So, and that doesn't make him F tier. He's nowhere close to F tier. But he is kind of, like when it comes to villains, if it weren't for the fact that comic books and anime have been around and we've gotten some super amazing villains, if he was like one of 100 villains in the world, he would be like A tier, S tier, just instantly because he's so interesting. But there are so many villains. I mean, look, I have 30 Batman villains alone. 30 Batman villains, and he's just one of them. And so when I have to rank him against all these other ones, kind of goes into the B tier for me. Just going right here in the B tier. Now that doesn't mean he's bad or anything. It just means that compared to some of these other guys, he's pretty basic. Let's be honest. See, yeah, he's like B tier. Like Harvey, he's really interesting. I like him a lot, but he is very, when you compare him to especially other Batman villains, he's there. He's a little better than nothing, but he's there. Okay, so that's TwoFace. Now let's see who's the next one we got here. I kind of actually have to look in so I can. Oh, Owlman. Okay, Owlman is a very interesting character for me. Here he is. Oops, no, move over and let's zoom you in. So Owlman, I like Owlman a lot. Like, his design is so interesting. It's basically just Batman, but more owly. If you know what I'm like, literally look at it. Look at it. Literally, he's literally just Batman, but you know, add owl stuff. And he's you know, if you don't know who he is, from what I remember, now I'm gonna start off from here. I should have started at the beginning, but I'm gonna say I'm not a super ultra Batman fan. I literally am only doing this because someone in my chat asked me to. I'm actually just slightly above a casual Batman fan. I like Batman. I've read a few of his comics. I've played a lot of his games. I've watched pretty much all of his movies. So I'm above casual, but I read about a lot of these characters more than I actually read the comic book stories of them. So that's what makes me above, because I actually do some research into this stuff. And Owlman is, so a lot of people think that Owlman is an alternate, so he's Batman from an alternate dimension where all the characters from the Justice League are evil instead of good. And people think, oh, that's Bruce Wayne but evil. Wrong, sir. The correct answer for that is actually he is Bruce Wayne's brother who is evil. Because they just can't make Bruce Wayne evil. They just can't. DC just can't do it. He's actually Bruce Wayne's brother. If I'm correct. Now, someone can correct me in the comments of this video, because I'm going to make this into a video, or of the chat. But I am 99% sure Owlman is Bruce Wayne's evil brother from another universe, who is just insane and wants to end the world. And not just the world, but all worlds. Yeah, he's Bruce Wayne's brother from an alternate dimension. It's weird. It's where comics. That's the answer. Because comics. And he wants to just end the entire universe because he thinks everything is meaningless and there's no point to anything. It's because I think it's after Bruce died as a kid, he went crazy or something like that. If I remember correctly. And he is so, I always like evil versions of good characters. So that already just jumps him up to D tier for me. Like, he just skips E and F tier just for being from an alternate dimension. And then his design alone is just so interesting. I mean, look at that. Look at this design. They really do make it like just Batman, but more owly. So it goes up to C tier with the design. But his character motivations are a little bland and kind of boring. But he is an actual threat to Batman. He's one of the few people that can pose a legitimate threat to Batman. So he goes to A. Yeah. He goes to A tier just because he's an actual threat to Batman. I'd say D or F. I would say that. But here's the thing. I'm very biased to the whole evil versions of characters and the fact that he's a threat. And he is truly a villain. You're going to see here that I'm going to rank some of these characters lower just because of how sometimes they're not really villains. And he is always 100% just evil. He's just purely psychotic evil. And so that's what really helps. His threat and the fact that he's eating. Okay, and the next one is, the Pangling, or Penguin, as most people call him. Now, where is this chubby bastard? Is that him? No, that's, where is it? Where is he? Where's his picture? I'm just clicking through till... Oh, there it is. How did I not see that? It's this fat ass. Look at that disgusting penguin-faced motherfucker. So I find the penguin interesting. Let's start with there. He's kind of just like the greediest person ever. Just wants to be classic dapper rich man, but on the other side of the law. Yeah. He's... Here's the thing with Penguin. His gadgets are interesting, but he only has them because he's rich. And he just wants to be rich. He just wants to have money. He just wants to control Gotham, which, you know, sure, that's cool. Gotham used to originally, before it had its weird sci-fi villains, it was mostly like serial killers and mob bosses who were villains back in the day. And those are interesting. And Penguin is a classic, so he's not F or E tier for me. But he's not really a threat to Batman at all. Like, he's a threat, but I use that loosely. Batman is only Batman because he is rich. Well, there's that and a bunch of other stuff, but you're not wrong. But Batman also trained in martial arts. Penguin never trained at all. He's just like, I'm Penguin. Nah, kill the Batman. He's literally like your stereotypical twirling mustaching villain. So I'm gonna put him in C tier. He's just so plain. He's so plain. He doesn't really have a tragic story. He's not really a threat. He doesn't really have any interesting motivations that make you kind of like, whoa, that's insane. Like, he doesn't make you think about anything. He's there for like, we need a basic villain. Penguin. Use Penguin. So he goes right in the middle, just right here. All right, I think that's fair. All right, next we have Raz Al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, or Raj al Ghul, however you want to say it. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's no wrong way to say it, because I found this picture right away. He's very I like this picture of Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, aka the head of the demon. Now here's my thing about Ra's al Ghul, that a lot of people, this is just my fun fact. When a lot of people argue over, is it Ra's al Ghul, is it Ra's al Ghul, is it Ra's al Ghul, is it Ra al Ghul, like which one is it? Technically there's no wrong answer, because when they created the character the first time, there were actually two people who created him. One person thought they were naming him in the Hebrew dialect, which is Raz al Ghul. And another person thought they were naming him in I think it was Farsi? No, it was another language. I forget which. It was another Middle Eastern language. I can't remember exactly which one, but they thought it was Reish Ogul. So they both thought that was the correct name for it. And because they both created the character, neither of them says the other one is wrong. They're just like, this is how I pronounce it, and you can pronounce it my way or his way. I don't really care. So that just remember that his name. It doesn't matter how you pronounce him. What matters is he is a badass character. He runs the League of Assassins. The League of Assassins. I don't know how I said that wrong. The League of Assassins, the biggest assassin group in the entire world in DC Comics. He's one of the people who trained Bruce Wayne to be the Batman. All right. He tried to get Bruce Wayne to become the next Ra's al Ghul, the next head of the demon, the next leader of the League of Assassins. I said Assassins again, didn't I? He is very interesting. The way he's able to manipulate Bruce Wayne, the way he's able to control a situation, the fact that he is a deadly killer. Again, another person who is a threat to Batman. One thing I kind of don't like about him, but I also find cool, I'm very conflicted on, is his whole immortality thing, because he has the Lazarus pit and he can come back to life, and every time he uses it, makes him a little insane. But, you know, it's part of his mythos. I don't hate it. I'm just like a little, I don't know how I feel about this. A little weird, but also it's cool. So I don't hate him. This doesn't change his ranking. It's just a feeling I have about him. Fun fact about that, by the way, when the Joker went into the Lazarus pit, when he came back to life, the Joker is already so insane that the insanity made him sane. Fun fact. But he definitely does not go in the C tier. He definitely does not go in anything below C tier. He starts at B tier. Just starts there, just from his cool design, the fact that he runs a whole organization that is able to basically take over any part of the world they want at the snap of a finger. That puts him instantly on B tier. The fact that he trained Bruce Wayne pushes him up to A tier. The only thing that keeps him from getting to S tier for me is that he's kind of he's the only thing that keeps him from S tier for me is that he just wants Bruce Wayne to be the next head of the demon. He doesn't have any real tragic backstory to me or anything. I don't really connect with him in any sort of way. He's a villain, but I like that. It's really good. I think he's really good. That's why I put him in A tier. All right. You know, Damian Wayne exists because of him, but it's, you know, that does help make things more interesting because Damian Wayne is becoming a little more evil now in the comics, but I haven't seen where that pans out yet. So it just puts him in A tier, and there'll be reasons. There are two characters that I instantly want to put in S tier because of their backstories. But don't worry, it's not that I okay, I can say something. I despise Damian Wayne. He's just a bratty punk. Well, I can't say you're wrong. I think they could write him a lot better though. That's my problem with it. Nobody likes Damian. Yeah, not even Damian likes Damian. I like the idea of Damian. Damian Wayne was interesting when he first started as Robin. When it was Damian Wayne as Robin and Dick Grayson as Batman, he actually was an interesting character. But now, not so much. Okay, let's just move on to the next one. Riddler. All right, Riddler is... That's Riddler, right? Yeah, that's Riddler. Let's zoom in on him. Now, I like Riddler. I think he's interesting. His whole puzzle aspect, the fact that he always has a riddle. I always find that stuff fun. That's what makes him entertaining. Is he's always like, "Who am I? I am blah 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 blah," and he has like some weird long riddle. Riddle me this. What tier is our Ridley friend? He's at least C tier. A lot of the more famous pop culture ones I'm going to usually probably put around C tier because they're interesting. But if I'm going to be honest, he doesn't... I don't know enough of his backstory. So it seems like his backstory isn't interesting enough to tell in most scenarios. He's just kind of a guy who he has these puzzles and he needs them to be solved, and he has this urge to prove that he's smarter than everybody else. It's like, so you're just an asshole. Like, he's just an asshole. He's like, I'm smarter than even the Bat, and I will prove it by putting out these puzzles that have extremely obvious clues that tell you the answer to them. And then gets surprised that he saw it. It's like, okay, that's cool. That keeps him from being he's not S tier. He's not even A tier. Because again, he's not a threat. If he's not really a threat to Batman, they can't get to A tier. It's more that he's a threat to the people. That kind of helps keep him from being boring. I want to... He's around the same as Penguin, where he's a good staple, but there's nothing really special about him that I know about. Maybe I'm lacking some information, but there's nothing special about him that makes me want to... make him as interesting as TwoFace. So I'm going to put him in the C tier with our good old Penguin buddy. Because when I think about it, like, why would he be better than Penguin? I mean, he is better than Penguin, but not nearly as good as TwoFace. All right, that's my thought on that. Now let's see. Next one. This is a fan favorite from the person who asked me about this. Poison Ivy. Now, I like Poison Ivy. She is a very interesting character. She loves plants. She wants to save the planet. She wants to save all the plants from humanity. And so I think, if I remember correctly, she got spilled with chemicals that connect her with plants. And so she is part human, part plant. She can talk to them, help them grow, stuff like that. And she values plants above people. So plants go here for her, people go here for her. And here's the thing. They've kind of ruined Poison Ivy a bit as a villain for me in the recent comics, because they're trying to make her into an anti-hero now. And I think she's good. I like the idea of her like wanting to kill people to save plants, but let's not forget. Now, people only know her current iteration these days, where she's just working with Harley Quinn and Catwoman, and they're just helping stop the bad guys. But if we remember her origins, she would kill anybody. She killed all people. She wanted to kill everyone and just make it a planet of plants. All right, let's remember that was her goal. She just couldn't do it. That's what she really wanted. And nowadays, she's just kind of this like this very popular anti-hero who's only attacking bad people. And so they've kind of changed her throughout the years, and I don't hate it. It's not what I like. So it kind of ruins her villain status. So it keeps her from being S tier, because she's not so much a villain anymore. She's more of an anti-hero or an anti-villain. And and then she's a threat to Batman in the sense that she has these cool, magnificent powers. But Batman's usually able to outsmart her pretty easily, and we've had some pretty jokestery versions, like that Batman and Robin movie. Oh my god. The plastic lip stuff. That was weird. But anyways, I'm gonna put her in the B tier with our good old friend TwoFace. Alright, she's cool, but she's not that cool to me. Like, I like her. She's interesting. But she's also very basic. She's just, I like plants more than people. And eventually I want to kill all the people, so there will only be the plants. But now I've changed my motivation to only kill the bad people. And, you know, maybe it's character growth, but it also makes her less of a villain. So she gets kind of, this is a villain ranking. Remember, this is a villain ranking. So it's not that she's a bad character, it's that she's a bad villain. Let's be honest. So let's see, who's the next one? Bane. All right, where's good old big boy Bane? Where's he? There he is. There's our friend. There's our good boy. All right. So Bane is a weird one, because there have been so many versions of Bane throughout the years that there's no real one true Bane. Like, there's the original Bane, who was this very intelligent character who figured out that Batman was Bruce Wayne. And he was able to beat Batman, and then he thought that Bruce Wayne's dad was his dad, but then it turns out that's not true. So him and Bruce Wayne worked together to try and find his dad, and then they remade him again, and then he was this guy who made this like special steroid that makes him super muscular. And then there was another version where he's from like this he's a Mexican masked wrestler from this one this one island, that's the word, island. And he would make the Bane venom, and then he started mixing his Bane venom with another toxin to make himself even stronger. And it's so weird that I can't really, like, he's not like the ones we've already talked about, where there's been like one version of them throughout. Like, they're always the same. Ra's al Ghul is always Ra's al Ghul. Two-Face is always Two-Face. Riddler is always Riddler. Bane, there's like 3 or 4 different versions of Bane. So how do I rank just Bane? And the way I do that is I go based on the best stories and the worst stories. Some of his stories, he's just, I'm Bane, me muscular. And I hate, and let me just say this right now. I hate Bane in the Dark Knight movie series. First of all, he talks like this the whole time, Mr. Wayne. I expect you to die. Now, do you understand what I am saying? Like what? At least make it so we can hear what he's saying, or put some damn subtitles on the screen. God, Christopher Nolan. I know you want it to be realistic, but no one talks like this, especially when they have a big speech. Even though his speech is pretty cool about the whole darkness thing. And the other thing I hate about him in that movie is that he starts off being this really interesting villain. He's gonna break Batman physically, mentally, emotionally. He's beaten him up. He has this huge plan to take over and destroy Gotham. And then it turns out it wasn't even his plan. It was Talia al Ghul's plan. And he's just in love with Talia al Ghul. And I'm just doing what she says because I love her so much. I'm a lovesick puppy dog. Like, really? Make him interesting. Or don't make him interesting. Don't try to do both, where he's both this great villain and also nothing. Like, what was that, Chris? He was, you know, it's the fact that they completely change him to just be a puppy thing. I hated that. It was bad. I didn't like that. So that, to me, that is like the worst interpretation of Bane, because he's not even the smart one. They say he's the smart one, and then he's not. Like, what was that? But that being said, Bane is fucking insane. All right. And I don't mean like crazy, like most Batman villains. He's probably one of the most sane Batman villains out of all of Batman's villains, which is not saying much. Most of them, you're gonna notice on this list, are pretty crazy. They're literally just, they're crazy people. But he is at least B tier. Like, he starts at B tier with how much of a threat he is, how simplistic. I don't mean basic, but simplistic. Like, he doesn't have these grand plans where he's gonna blow up the city usually, except for in that one movie. He usually just wants to beat Batman and prove that he is the strongest, if I remember correctly. And so I'm gonna put him in the A tier. I like him a lot. He can be very interesting. He can be very simple or very, very interesting. And so that's what puts him in the A tier, because he's just so different. Like, it's never just, this is Bane. This is Bane version 1, and this is Bane version 2, and this is Bane version 3. And I know a lot of comic book characters go through different changes and iterations, but Bane, he feels the most different a lot of times. And it really can split the fan. So I think he's A tier. I might change that in the future, but for today, I'm gonna stick with A tier. All right, let's go to the next one. One of my favorite characters based on their design and wordplay, ManBat. I like ManBat, but ManBat suffers from creepy villain syndrome. And what I mean by that is, how do we make a villain that's creepy but not interesting at all? I know, let's take the word Batman and flip it around. But what else do we do with it? Let's have a guy studying bats inject himself with the serum that will make him more like a bat. Clearly everything could go right for him, right? Like, first of all, let's think of what scientist in their right mind injects themselves with the chemicals they're testing? Zero. That's how many? Zero. I know the point is that he's a Batman villain and he's not in his right mind, but still, couldn't have at least made it an accident like with Poison Ivy usually? That being said, I agree with Marinus. ManBat is cool, okay? He is a cool character. All right, he's this creepy bat. He's this creepy ManBat thing, and he wants to hunt down Batman because, if I remember correctly, in one of his iterations, it's because he used to work for Bruce Wayne, and then Bruce Wayne was like, nah, fuck you, your research is weird, I'm firing you. And then he got mad, and he turned into ManBat, and now he's obsessed with killing Bruce Wayne, basically Batman. And then Batman beat him up, and now he's obsessed with killing Batman, because all of Batman's villains have these hard-ons for Batman. Like, I'm serious. Every single Batman villain is like, I gotta go after Batman. Only Batman. Only Batman's good enough for me. Only Batman. Everyone else is nothing but Batman. Oh, fucking Batman. Just where's the Batman? Where is he? Like, you know, there are just so many characters with Batman syndrome that they all just become just become basic characters because of that. And since there's nothing really interesting about him. He's just kind of another crazy person, but his powers make him interesting. So it kind of saves him from the C tier, and it kind of puts him with our good old friend Poison Ivy in the B tier. But that's also because I just find him fun. We haven't really gotten ManBat in a while. He just kind of shows up here and there, but I think he's fun. And he's basic. They don't change him a lot. That's one of the other things I like. They don't change him a lot. Some of these characters, they tend to, like Bane, they change Bane all the time. They've changed Ivy. They've changed Clayface like 3,000 or 4,000 times. Like there have been 5 Clayfaces, okay? 5 Clayfaces, and they're all different people. And then they became the Mud Crew or whatever it was called. I forget. So I put him in the B tier because he's just fun. Speaking of Clayface, that's what we got next. Just to show I'm not lying. I literally just pulled Clayface out of my ass. Well, not my ass, my hat, but same thing. All right, so Clayface he's a lot like ManBat, where I like his power. The fact that he's literally made of clay. He's a being of clay. Well, he's not a being of clay. He's a person who became a being of clay. And he can shapeshift his body into anything he wants. That is cool. But the character is fucking boring. Like, it's just so fucking boring. Like, it used to be, like, the first character was kind of interesting, where he's this actor who got mad that when they remade his classic horror film, they didn't even ask him to be a part of it. So he started killing people who were supposed to die in the film, but he killed them in real life. And then they figured out, oh, it's this guy. It's just an actor. And then the next one, he had a disease that turned him into clay, if I remember correctly, and he had to spread it to other people to keep himself from dying, which is pretty insane. That's pretty wild. All right. And then there was another guy who had the power. I don't remember what that. Let's see. That's already 3 Clayfaces. Like, why do you want me to remember 3 different characters that all do the same freaking thing? And then there was a 4th one who was a woman who slept with the 2nd one, I think. And then they had a kid who was the 5th one. And then they all teamed up together to beat up Batman. They became the Mud Gang, but then it turns out the original one was just using the other 4, and he got all their blood to mix it together and made himself into the ultimate Clayface. And it's like, it's so comic booky. I love it, but it's not very good. All right, it's very basic villain of the week shit. Like, let's be honest here. So he just kind of starts at B tier because of his powers, and then he just kind of starts dropping lower and lower. So he's gonna be our first D tier. Like, the Batman animated version, one of them, if I remember correctly, was actually kind of tragic because he was a cop who got turned into it by Joker. But that's the only good version, and he's not really the main Clayface. He's just, what are Clayface's goals? It depends on the Clayface. That's the problem. The original one is he wants to be able to be... He likes pretending to be other people because he's so obsessed with being the best actor or something like that. And then he wants to beat up Batman. And he even wants to become Batman in some scenario. You know, honestly, a lot of Batman's villains want to be Batman. Joker wants to be Batman. Hugo Strange wants to be Batman. Hush wants to be Batman. It's a whole thing, whatever. And then the other ones, they just want to beat up Batman because reasons. I don't know. Let's see. Now we're gonna go into the more obscure characters. Mad Hatter. I'll be honest with you, I know almost nothing about Mad Hatter. Like, literally, like, nothing. And because of that, could you in the chat tell me a little bit about Mad Hatter while I talk here? I'll try and read it. I think Clayface has some of the coolest powers. I mean, being able to shapeshift into anyone he wants is amazing. That's hella creepy too. Like, Face Off, the potential behind him is awesome. I'd give him an S on... Look, his potential is amazing. But the character, the way he's written, is nothing. That's why he gets dropped to D tier, because he's just a villain. He's just, I am evil. Why? Why? So here's the thing I know about Mad Hatter. I know he's insane. I know he's obsessed with Alice in Wonderland. And I know he kills people. That's pretty much all I know about him. His story might be... I've heard from people that he's like really creepy and disgusting. And from what I've heard about him, that keeps him from going down to D tier. All right, it saves him from the Clayface area of D tier. But I need to drink some water. But he doesn't have any interesting stories that I know of. Like, I've never been recommended any Mad Hatter focused Batman comics. I've been recommended a lot of other comics, but never really Mad Hatter, because he's kind of there a lot of the time. So I think I'm gonna put him in C tier, because he's kind of just another crazy person, which we have so many in the Batman universe that it's like, is another one really special? Are they really special? I don't think so. Or my brain needs to line it up. Maybe I'm the crazy one. Maybe I'm the Mad Hatter. Once again, it depends on the interpretation of him, but basically lots of mind control and obsession with one woman whose name is Alice. So he has mind control. Interesting, but he just sounds like just another insane person in Gotham. Like, it's one of those things where, like, you roll a dice and 5 out of 6 times someone's just gonna be insane. That's how just a lot of people are in Gotham, it feels like. This one. This is a fan favorite, but he only has one story, and he's actually a kind of recent character, if I remember correctly. I like this character. Well, I'll get into it. It's Hush. Hush. Now, where's the picture for Hush? While we, no, that's not him. There it is. There's Hush. So, for those of you who don't know who Hush is, he is, his backstory really saves him from being boring, because he's kind of boring. His backstory both saves him and ruins him, and I'll explain in a minute. So, Hush, we find out later, is Batman's childhood friend who was always able to outsmart him and trick him, and he makes his face go under a bunch of different facial surgeries, so he always changes the way he looks, so that way it's really hard to track him down. And he's actually employed Clayface at one point to pretend to be him, looking like a past Robin. So that was an interesting moment. But overall, he's just kind of, when you really learn his backstory is that he wanted to kill his parents by cutting the brake line in their car. And then Bruce Wayne's dad, who was a doctor, saved his mom from dying. So he hates Bruce Wayne and Bruce Wayne's dad because he wanted to be an orphan because reasons. And he was just kind of whatever. Like he's insane. He pushes Batman to his limits, so that makes him interesting. But he's also like, his motivation is just, I wanted to be an orphan or something like that. I can't really, I remember it being really basic and forgettable. And so I was just like, okay, that's it. Like they built him up so much, and then he was nothing. And it really bugged me. I really wanted more. I wanted a really interesting, in-depth look into someone who knew Bruce Wayne as a kid and was close friends with him. But we didn't get that. And it kind of bugged me. So we're going to put him in B tier. You know, it was a good story run, but the overall villain was, he had a disappointing ending for me. C tier, he's overrated. The fact that I don't know who he is should say a lot, since I know most. Yeah, actually, you know what? You're right. He is a bit overrated. I agree. He was interesting, but he had so much buildup that ended with nothing. It literally ended with nothing. It was just, I wanted to be an orphan, and I wanted Bruce Wayne's parents to adopt me or something like that, so I could be brothers with Bruce Wayne permanently. And then because they saved my mom from dying, I will forever have a vendetta against them. Like, what is that? What is that backstory? Like, come on, give me something more. At least give him some cool powers or some shit. I mean, the coolest thing is that he, like, makes himself look like... So another character that is super popular, Deathstroke. Now, he's super easy to find. His picture is awesome. Now, here's the thing. Deathstroke is a really, really cool fucking character, all right? He's a cool character. But he is a lot like Clayface and Mad Hatter and Bane, where they change his character all the fucking time. Like, one person... Slade Wilson, that's his name, but his villain name is Deathstroke. Now here's my thing. I think he's a cool character. If this was just like a who's the coolest character sort of thing, he would go S tier. If this was just a who's a threat to Batman, he would be S tier. If this was just a who's one of the strongest characters in the DC universe, well, he wouldn't go S tier because there's some fucking godlike beings, but, you know, for normal-ish people, he would be S tier. If they continued his story and kept him the way he is most of the time, if he had, like, a more interesting story about his tragic past when he was in the army, where he faked being 18 so he could join the army at the age of 15 or 16, I can't remember, and then he was like the best soldier ever, and then he married his trainer who was a woman, the person who trained him, and then they had him go into the secret they gave him a super soldier serum basically, and then he wanted to start he had to keep hunting to keep his skills sharp because that was the only time he felt calm. And then, you know, he when one of his friends got captured, the U.S. Army military wasn't going to go save them, so he put on his costume to go on an unsanctioned raid to save them, and then the military found out, and they gave him a dishonorable discharge for obeying orders, and then his wife left him and tried to kill him because he kept a secret from her. That was, by the way, that's how he lost his eye. His wife tried to kill him. She tried to shoot him in the head, but his reflexes were so fast he only lost his right eye. If they had kept that and then gave him some like cool character motivations in there, and they just kept him as the character who he is and just kept growing him, I would put him in S tier like that. But they've written this character so differently so many times. Depending on who writes him, he's either an insane person who will just kill anyone, children included. Like, he literally let his son get captured and his throat slit at one point, which made him mute because he was like, I'm not going to save him, because he was fighting with his wife or something like that. That's insane. And then other times he's like, I have to save people because I still have some good in me. Like, can you understand why I feel a little conflicted on him? If he was like the best, if he was just evil, or he was just a little bit of both, then I would put him in S tier. But he changes so much all the time, depending on how you write him. And, you know, how does that work? How does what work? What are you asking, Saratoga? They should have had Batman beat his high scores as his backstory. That would have been funny. So I would put him in S tier if it weren't for the fact that they just they change his character so much. So he's gonna go to A tier. So long story short, he's A tier because he's so fucking cool, but they keep changing him up. Like, he has no consistency to him. Like, at one point he lets his own son get his throat slit, and so he's mute for the rest of his life. But other times he's like, I have to save these random people because reasons. Him losing only his right eye from the bullet doesn't make sense. You know, the reason is because comics. It's because his reflexes were so fast and the super soldier serum let him dodge it at the last second, so the bullet like hit his eye and then went out the side of his skull, I think. So it didn't hit his brain. That's why. It's one of those because comics things. He just did. He dodged the bullet, literally. He would be so much cooler if they kept his story and they had his trauma. Like, the trauma of stuff happening made him more... If Slade had much more of an... Like, you get what I'm saying? I don't hate him. I think he's so cool, but they just change him so much. So he gets the A tier, or as Yukino said, Slade tier. It's certainly not the craziest thing in comics. That's true. Not the craziest. Now we have a personal favorite of mine. Deadshot. Reese, Ventriloquist, Mr. Ness. There he is. Now, here's my thing with Deadshot. And I know I'm immediately people are gonna get so mad at me for this. They're gonna get so mad at me for how I'm gonna rank him. I guarantee you, everyone is gonna flame me in the comments. All right, this dude, Deadshot. Yes, the one villain. There are 3 other versions of basically. There are 3 versions of Deadshot, but I'm going with my personal favorite one. The kind of more anti-hero, not anti-hero, but he does become a villain, and he has a fucking tragic backstory, by the way, and I love his backstory. His backstory is insane. It is fun. It is awesome. And he's as one of the first villain comic books I ever read. And let me tell you his backstory so you can... Deadshot, Peacemaker, and Bloodsport. Same characters, different days. Yes, you're not wrong. But Deadshot's backstory I fucking love. And so he immediately gets shot up to B tier for his awesome backstory. But because of how cool he is, he actually, you know... Let me just tell you his backstory. So his backstory that I love is when he was a kid, he got really good at shooting guns. And then he had a brother, if I remember correctly, his brother who was the only friend he ever had because he didn't really like his parents. Because his parents were kind of weird, like insane or something. It was either he was insane or his parents were insane. I can't remember exactly. But what I do remember is his brother was going to try and kill his father. In an effort to stop his brother from killing his father, he went up into a tree and he had a gun and he was a sniper and he was going to shoot that and hit the gun out of his brother's hand. But right before he pulled the trigger, the branch he was standing on broke. And so the bullet missed the gun and killed his brother. The only friend, the only person he ever cared about, the only person he connected to. That made him go insane and just made him think his life meant nothing. And so he became a villain. And if that was his whole backstory, he would only be B or A tier for me. But then he had his family, and he started trying to change his ways. To be better. So I'm going to put him in A tier. I was going to put him in S tier, but I put Slade Wilson in A tier because they keep changing him from a pure villain to kind of a hero to a villain. And because they made him more of a villain, he goes in A tier. The Deadshot tier. Man, I really like Batman villains. I just realized most of them so far are in A tier. Also, quite a few are C tier because they're pretty... Batman villains are both like where you can find some of the best villains and some of the most basic mustache twirling villains, if you know what I mean. Not literally mustache twirling, but like just, I'm a villain. AKA Penguin. All right. Let's get the next one. God, my throat is getting dry from this. I don't know how people do these tier lists for so long. Oh, Black Mask. Black Mask. Now, where is his picture? It's kind of hard to find because it's just kind of dark. Wait, actually, let me see if I can do... Oh, there he is. It's so shiny, so when it's small, you can't really tell that that's Black Mask. But Black Mask is an interesting character. So if you just know Black Mask from that awful Harley Quinn movie, I hated that movie. I hated that movie so much. If you liked it, I am so happy for you. If you saw just the Harley Quinn movie and that's all you knew about Black Mask, you'd put him in F tier. He was so basic. He's just like, I'm a man and I'm evil and I just want to beat up women. And it was nothing to me. I hated how they did Black Mask, because Black Mask in the comics is fucking insane. Like, even for a Batman character, he's pretty insane. All right. So his story is if I remember correctly, his parents owned a cosmetic company, and they cared more about like how you looked to society than who you were as a person. And they like to mingle with like those richer upper class elites, you know, like Mr. and Mrs. Wayne. And they wanted their son to be like them and keep running their company and just become a super elite status symbol in the future. And then when he was a kid, he saw a raccoon and he thought he was like, that raccoon is hiding behind a mask, just like everybody does. And so he started having this obsession with masks, and as he got older, he actually got really good at running his company to where he became the vice president of the company. And he started collecting masks from all over the world because he thought they were interesting. They made people really important and very valuable. And then he fell in love with this one woman who was a model for their cosmetic company, and his parents, who were still in charge at the time, didn't like that he was dating someone below their status, and so they fired her and forbid him from ever seeing her again. And he said, oh, okay, you're right, I was wrong. But he was putting on a mask. You see where this is going? And then when he became in charge, he actually hired her again, and he ended up marrying her, if I remember correctly. I think he married her. He either dated her or married her. And then he wanted to create a new cosmetic line that would make people more interesting, show off more of their inner colors. And then the cosmetic line he made just made people look like a weird abstract art, and nobody wanted that. Nobody liked it at all. So they started losing money. So then to make some money back, he started trying to come up with a cosmetic that would not get washed away. That was 100% waterproof. But he didn't test it out at all and immediately started selling it on the market. And it turns out that it started burning people's faces, horribly burning them. So he went into financial debt, and his company kicked him out. So he took some of his money, he took a couple guns, and he took all his mask collection. And he started making a gang empire where he would put that stuff inside the masks, and and he blamed all of this on his parents for ruining his life. So he went to his dad's crypt, broke everything down, and then carved a black mask out of his father's coffin. All right, so that's why he has a black mask. We're literally wearing a mask carved out of his dead father's stone coffin. And we've more than halfway through, and it's almost been an hour. Wow. This is what happens when you talk about fucking 50-year-long backstory characters and make a tier list out of them. No wonder people usually do stuff like bananas. Wait, do they? Anyways, so he then started, not only did he make a gang empire, but he made this like cult called like the Faceless Society or something like that, where he would have them wear one of his special masks from around the world, and that would be their new identity, whatever mask they were wearing. And if you tried to take it off, it would burn your face, so you would be horribly disfigured for the rest of your life. And he actually ended up kidnapping his fiance, wife, girlfriend, whatever she was, because she left him, and made her wear a mannequin mask with that goop on it to kind of make a joke about her former profession of just being someone who had to look pretty all the time. Yeah, it's fucking insane. So he's like, when it comes to really cool crime bosses, he's probably the most interesting for me when it comes to the crime bosses in Batman, because there's a lot of them are crime bosses originally. That being said, he's also kind of bland. He's just kind of a crazy crime boss. He doesn't really have usually big plans. I think like his big plan is that everybody should wear a mask to symbolize who they truly are on the inside. And he's like dead on the inside, sort of, so that's why he wears a black mask made out of a grave. So I'm gonna put him in B tier. You know, I think he's cool, but he's not cool enough to be like these guys. These guys are like the pinnacle of cool, amazing, awesome characters. These are where you're like getting like the really cool characters, but they're not like the best. That being said, I put ManBat here just because I like his fucking powers. Because I'm fucking weirdo. Alright, let's see the next one. Ah! Well. Joker. What everybody knows who Joker is. I'm not going to explain too much about where I'm going to put Joker, but I will tell you he's not going to go to the S tier. Alright. Andrew's gonna hate me for this, but he doesn't belong in S tier in my opinion. He's a cool character, but he's also a bit overhyped when you really think about it. Like, here's the thing. He is a great character for being anti-Batman, because Batman he wants to save people. He doesn't want people to go through any tragedies. Whereas Joker thinks of everything as a joke in a game, and he's the simplistic villain of, I want to burn the world. I want to just burn everything, destroy everything. And that is awesome. That is cool. His insanity is fun. He's a fun character. Outrageous spit take. What? Yeah, look. And here's the thing. He's awesome. He's crazy. He is amazing. There's a reason he is Batman's #1 villain. But he's not the best villain personally for me. I think he goes in A tier. He goes in A tier. He's definitely not B tier, but he's not S tier either for me. He's S tier fun, but he's not S tier character. He has really good character, but there needs to be more to him than just being fucking insane. For someone to be S tier for me. There needs to be a little more to them. That's why I almost put Deadshot in S tier, but Deadshot's also, they changed him enough to where he has to go down to A tier. Now, let's see. If you have spent any amount of time on this channel, this is the meme character, Jason Todd. Everybody's Jason Todd. All the villains are secretly Jason Todd. 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 AKA Red Hood. If you don't know who Jason Todd is, if you don't know who Red Hood is, you know, just look him up, read his story. I like Jason Todd. He's a cool villain, but he's also not a villain anymore, but he also is a villain. They really changed his motivation. He's really interesting in his original story of when he becomes the Red Hood. But DC's overuse of the character of the Red Hood kind of really bugs me. Like in that Arkham Knight game when they're like, who's the Arkham Knight? Who's the Arkham Knight? And then it turns out it's Jason Todd. It's like, why didn't you just make it Red Hood so we knew? And what's under the Red Hood? Another hood. So I would have put him in S tier if he just had that one story, just that one under the Red Hood story. But they've kind of they're even going to possibly make Damian Wayne Red Hood now. So it feels like they're just recycling Jason Todd's storyline. So he's really cool, and he is a threat to Batman. But you know, I don't know. Personally, I don't enjoy him that much. So I'm putting him in B tier. He's really cool, but they just use this story so much that it feels watered down now. You know, I thought one of his costumes was really fucking stupid. One of them was, but most of the time they're pretty cool. Most of the time. Now let's see, how many more do we have? Yes. Ah, another obscure villain that well, you'll see. Calendar Man. Now, Calendar Man is weird. Let's just say that. And he's his. There you go. Let's just move that up to there. Calendar Man is a character that likes to kill people based on certain holidays or certain dates of the month or the week. He's really bland, really forgettable. He's just another insane serial killer. So I'm just gonna put him in D tier. Actually, you know what? Let's put him in E tier. He's Calendar Man. At least he's punctual. True. He's Calendar Man. Calendar Man. If you guys can find some really good Calendar Man stories and send them to me, then maybe I'll read those. And it might change my perspective, but really he's just a smart guy who's obsessed with dates. I dropped the paper. Killer Croc. All right, easy to find. Literally right there. Bam. All right, let's move his thing up so that way it's easier to find him. Killer Croc is a lot like ManBat, where he's just cool. It was this dumbass costume where he had a stupid bullet-shaped red hat thing that covered his whole face. Looking at that damn costume makes me laugh my ass off. Lol. That's funny. I like Calendar Man as a murdering sociopath, then a cool, always behind everything villain. Yeah, he's cool as a murdering sociopath, but there's a better one. There's a much better one that's coming up, trust me. But let's go to Killer Croc. Killer Croc is one of those characters where they go really sci-fi with them. He's like a crocodile man thing. And I don't know anything about his backstory besides the fact that he's got turned into I don't remember if he's a crocodile that got turned into a man or a man that got turned into a crocodile. But most of the time he's just relegated to I like eating humans. And he's just vicious and terrible and evil. I like him. He's cool. He's a lot of fun. But he's, but there's nothing really special about him. There's nothing special about him besides the fact that he's Killer Croc, so we're gonna put him B tier. He's a lot like ManBat. His powers are what make him interesting. Yes, definitely English. I thought he was born like that. Maybe he was born like that. That's how forgettable his backstory is. Like, it's so basic and boring. I like King Shark more, C tier, and my past comment was about Joker. Oh, you like Joker as just a mass murdering sociopath? I agree. I don't know a lot about King Shark, but unfortunately King Shark isn't in this list. He apparently, according to the internet, doesn't even make Batman's top 30 villains. But based on some of these villains, I can understand why. Next we have, this is a fan favorite, Harley Quinn. I just wrote Harley because I didn't want to write Harley Quinn. If you don't know who Harley Quinn is, then you don't know anything about anything. All right. Now, I like Harley Quinn a lot as Joker's sidekick, as his main squeeze, as another girl who's insane and crazy, just like he is. Wants to just wants to stop the bats because Mr. J wants me to. But they've changed her so much recently that she's gone from villain to anti-villain to anti-hero to like she goes through the same problems that Ivy goes through. So if she was just a villain with her crazy stuff. But that being said, they write her so well as not a complete villain. So, since this is a villain ranking, I can't put her in A tier. I can't put her in S tier. If this was a rank Batman characters, I would put her in S or A tier like that. I like her a lot in as like this kind of mix character. Like she can be so much fun as both pure villain and as like a good person who doesn't know how to do the right thing. this is a villain tier list. And as a villain, she's okay. She's not, as just a pure villain, she's not that great. So she goes in C tier. Not because I don't like her character. I think her character is amazing. Just remember that. I think her character is amazing. And if this was like a ranking Batman characters, just as how much I like them as characters, she would definitely be like right here. She would be right here. But as a villain, she's an okay villain. She's a good sidekick, but she's not very good at being a villain, right? That's the thing. She's not a good villain, but she's a great character. Bad villain, great character. All right, like if Batman was on this list, he would be F because he's a terrible villain, right? He would just instant F. Superman would be instant F, terrible villain. Damian Wayne might actually be like C or B tier because he's kind of he's basically a villain. Let's be honest. He wanted to kill kids at one point, like other kids. If I remember correctly, he was willing to kill other kids. Now let's see. Who's the next one? This is a very unknown one, but that's what I like about him. Joe Chill. Let me just... Joe Chill. Now, Joe Chill... let's put him all... Actually, let's leave him kind of hidden behind everybody. Fuck Joe Chill. All my homies hate Joe Chill. Now, here's the thing. Joe Chill is not a very interesting character. He doesn't have any special powers. He's not in charge of some gang. He's not a super smart mastermind. But he is the most important character when it comes to Batman. Because he is the man who killed Bruce Wayne's parents. He's just a man. A simple man killed his parents. And that sent Bruce Wayne on the path to becoming the Dark Knight. And the simplicity of that character is something I love. That's one of the reasons I put Joker in A tier. Because I love the simplicity of his character. Alright, there's nothing special about him. He's just a man who killed another man, killed a woman in front of a child. That's all he did. He just wanted some money. And so as a villain, that like he's only done something super basic. So that puts him in the C tier just for doing that very basic important act, launching off the Batman mythos, creating one of the most iconic superheroes of all time. Will survive for years just because of this man. Just because of Joe Chill. Because this man decided to kill Martha and... What was Bruce Wayne's dad's name? Mark? No. Henry? No. Mr. and Mrs. Wayne. Because he killed Mr. and Mrs. Wayne, he created Batman. And that puts him in legendary status as a Batman villain. And what I love most about Joe Chill is he goes untouched by DC Comics. And what I mean by that is they don't try to change him. They don't try to give him some huge backstory. They don't try to make him some secret mastermind who could see into the future and knew that if he killed these two, Batman would exist and it would save Gotham. No. He's just a man who wanted money. So he goes into B tier. The simplicity of him puts him in B tier. But the fact that he's literally not a threat to Batman and that there are no interesting stories involving him besides Batman, he doesn't really get to go to A tier. He's not as good as Joker or Deadshot or any of them. He's Joe Chill. He's Joe Chill. That's all I have to say. Thomas Wayne. That's his name. Thank you, Marinus. I'm slow. Oh, and Yuki said it and Tokuyami. So thank you guys. Oh, please. Damien's a little shit who needs his ears boxed and timed out. Yeah. Okay, guys. It's getting hot in here, so I need to take off my jacket real quick. Just give me a second. Oh, my God. Earlier I was freezing cold sneezing before the stream, and now I'm... All right, we're back. Seems like Joe Chill has stolen all the chill from the room. Oh yeah. Bam. If these are sunglasses, that would... Isn't Raven like an adult? And the fact that Damien is shipped with Raven, no, don't do my girl dirty like that. Raven can do way better. Well, it depends on which iteration of Raven, because sometimes Raven is like 13, sometimes she's 16, sometimes she's 26. They change her age all the time because they want to keep using her in the Teen Titans because she's such a popular character, but she doesn't really work as a character on her own, if you know what I mean. She can't really hold a story by herself. Like most of the Teen Titans, she works better in a group. Like Cyborg works better in a group. Beast Boy works better in a group. Starfire works better in a group. Robin works better in a group. Even when he's Nightwing, he works better with other characters bouncing off him. So, you know. All right, let's go to the next one. The next one is Mr. Zaz. As someone who was it who was asking for Mr. Zaz earlier? Mr. Zaz. So for those of you who don't know, Mr. Zaz is an insane psychopathic murderer who every time he kills someone, he puts a notch mark in his skin. And so he has hundreds of notch marks all over his body to say, hey, I've killed this many people. Zaz is fucking cool, all right? As a villain, he is so crazy and insane and wonderfully amazing, okay? So here's what I like about Zaz. His whole thing is that when he was a baby, he got dropped on his head the moment he was born. And his parents cared more about looking good to the public, much like who was it? Not Clayface. Black Mask. And so they didn't want to sue the hospital because they didn't want to look bad. And this made Zaz forever have a notch messed up in his brain. So he's not insane. So he's insane. He's soulless. He is a heartless, soulless fucking monster. All right. I just read what Marina said about Raven. I'll read that after I'm done. Zaz, he literally believes that everybody in the world is dead inside, and that we're all just zombies walking in fake corpses. And the way to free them from being dead is by killing them in this world to save them from being a dead zombie. And that is fucking insane. That is crazy, and I love it. He goes straight to A tier. Just straight. He goes straight to A tier. All right. Talia al Ghul. Now, Talia al Ghul is she's a very weird character. First of all, she's the daughter of Raj al Ghul, this man right here, head of the demon. And so she is an amazing assassin in her own right. Amazing character, super huge threat level to Batman and everyone else in the world. And not only is she a threat to Batman, but she wants Batman, much like Ra's al Ghul, to take over the throne. Probably partly because she loves him a little bit for his power and his mystique and his strength. But mostly because she wants to do what her father, her master, her leader wants her to do. And that's marry Batman, Bruce Wayne, and make their assassin organization even way better than anyone else in the world. All right. And if it was just that, she'd be like B or A tier. Just an interesting, cool villain. But she does kind of work with Bruce Wayne sometimes. She's not always 100% evil. So that's why I would have put her in B tier. However, she did something horribly evil that most people consider is worse than murder. And that's that she drugged Batman. Well, not exactly drugged, but like, I mean, it is drugged. It's kind of comic book drugging. Like, it was just, she basically used a love potion to force him to sleep with her for a night, so she could get pregnant, so she could make the most powerful assassin from her bloodline, Ra's al Ghul's daughter bloodline, and Bruce Wayne's Batman's bloodline, to make the most powerful warrior, the most powerful assassin. And that's how we got Damian Wayne. And because she gave us Damian Wayne, because she gave us the most hated Robin in the entire universe, it used to be Jason Todd, now it's Damian Wayne because he's the worst Robin, I will admit. Like, he's fucking cool in the powers he has, and he has a sword and shit, but his personality sucks. Because she gave us Damian Wayne, she goes to S tier. S tier villain status. She's the true villain. Because she gave us Damian Wayne, she's the true villain. Because she made Bruce Wayne, because she made Damian Wayne, she goes to S tier. That's my reason. She did no. She gets S tier because she's the worst. She's the most evil villain. Because she made us have to read stories with Damian Wayne by making him exist. That's why she gets S tier. We have to read stories with Damian Wayne. Basically, it's a meme S tier. Really, I think she goes in B or A tier, but you know, the nerd in me says S tier. All right. This one is another character who's very, like... I like this character a lot. The ventriloquist. So let's see, where's the ventriloquist? There he is. So he's a very old Batman villain. He doesn't get a lot of time in the limelight. Sorry, my throat's getting dry. When we're done with this, we're gonna definitely have to take a break, guys, because we've been going for over an hour and a half almost, just talking straight about Batman characters. The ventriloquist is one of the most interesting Batman villains. Now, at first, it's just a guy who runs a mob, who's a mob boss, and he has a ventriloquist dummy that he uses as a scapegoat to get away with murdering people. And then it seems like the ventriloquist is actually the one in charge. He's the one who makes the person, the dummy is the one who makes the person kill people. And it actually seems like he's alive. And it makes this whole interesting dilemma of, is the puppet actually alive? He's a nice villain, A tier. Then what now? Ventriloquist. So it makes this whole sneezy kitty. So either he's this guy who uses the puppet as a scapegoat to get away with killing people, or it's a puppet controlling the man, or the man is so insane that he thinks the puppet is controlling him. It makes this whole interesting, cool dilemma that would put him instant A tier for me. Like, it just, oh my god, that's so cool. But they in recent years, they have confirmed, I would say, that it's actually none of that. And what it is that the puppet was a beam of wood. So there used to be this one jail that where they used to hang people. Or no, they used to use a guillotine to kill people, and then it got struck by lightning and it got destroyed, so they stopped using it. And then that man made the puppet out of that wood, and it turns out that because of all the evil and hatred filled within the wood of the chopping block, I forget what, the guillotine, because of all that stuff, it makes the puppet, it gives it the energy of evil inside it. And so what it does is it compels you to act upon your most darkest desires. And so it's not that either that it's in control, it just makes you more evil. And that, I don't like that as much. I like the mystery of, is he actually in charge, or is the person insane? Like, I like not knowing which one it is, but now we know the puppet is not actually alive at all. He just makes you think he's alive. So he goes to B tier. He would be A tier if he kept that cool mystery of, is he alive? But they got rid of that. So he goes to B tier. That's kind of a resolution to the mystery. Yeah, I know. I would have rather it just stayed a mystery, because you can't solve that mystery. It's too good. It's too good to just, it had to be a mystery. Next one. Solomon Grundy. All right, Solomon Grundy is a he's an interesting character. So for those of you who don't know, Solomon Grundy is a guy who died in this swamp, and then he came back to life, and he just remembered this one poem that was like, born on Monday, died on Sunday, and like, you know, over and over, and he just quotes that over and over, and it's a poem about a guy named Solomon Grundy, so he started calling himself Solomon Grundy. And because he's basically an immortal zombie, he can't be killed, and he just keeps going, he just keeps coming back to life over and over whenever he does get killed, I think every Sunday or Monday. He's a very, very, yeah, it's Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday. I like him. He's a cool character, but his whole thing is just that he's a zombie. And so because he was a zombie, a bunch of criminals were like, hey, you want to become our crime boss? Like, he didn't even choose to be the crime boss. Everyone else was like, you become our crime boss because you can't get killed, and they'll attack you first, and then we'll kill all the other people behind him. And he was like, sounds like a plan. Solomon Grundy agree. And that's his whole thing. That's his whole shtick. Just that he's a zombie, and it's cool, but it's like anybody could be a zombie. Like, it's not like ManBat or Killer Croc, where it's actually this kind of unique character. It's, you know, yeah. So his creepy poem is cool, but he himself is not. So he's gonna go with Calendar Man in the E tier. Like, he's there. I like him. It's fun when he shows up. Fun fact about Calendar Man that might have raised him to a D tier, but this is a kind of a newer thing, is that in the newer iteration of Calendar Man, his body actually changes with the seasons in Gotham. So he's reborn every spring, and then as the year goes on further and further, he gets older and older and ages rapidly until he dies in the winter, and then he's reborn from his dead husk in the spring, like a metamorphosis. He's reborn as like a young man with all his previous memories. That, I like that. That makes him creepier and cooler, but it's kind of a newer thing, so I didn't add it. So that's why I kept Calendar Man in E tier. Now let me have some more water real quick. Did somebody say creepy poem? The full poem. Thank you, Yuki. Is Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, christened on Tuesday, married on Wednesday, took ill on Thursday, grew worse on Friday, died on Saturday, buried on Sunday. That was the end of Solomon Grundy. Yeah, it's a neat gimmick thing, but it's not a really main thing. Another kind of like, this is a character who got more well-known recently, Carmine Falcone. He got more well-known recently thanks to the show Gotham, which I watched the first half of season 1, and then I heard it just got awful. But here he is. You know, I'm actually going to keep him kind of hidden behind some of these other characters, because that's kind of how he is. He's kind of just, he's hidden behind them. So he used to be Gotham's #1 crime boss, and he wanted to kill, what was it? Fuck. What was Bruce Wayne's dad again? We just said it earlier. Stuart? I gotta look up. Look up in the chat. What was Bruce Wayne's dad? Can somebody tell me real quick? Martha is his mom. I always forget Bruce Wayne's dad's name. I don't know why. I just always do. Thomas! God damn it. So yeah, he wanted to kill Thomas Wayne so that way he could become the ruler of Gotham. That's one of his iterations. Another iteration is he actually owned Thomas Wayne. Like, Thomas Wayne owed him money, so he could control Thomas Wayne. He used to control all of Gotham by being like the best gangster mobster ever. And it's cool, but we've gotten so many cool villains since then that he's just kind of another crime boss. Like, if you're watching like a series that's all about crime bosses, he's really cool. But when you're watching a series about Batman with supervillains and Joker and ManBat and Black Mask, he just kind of gets shoved to the wayside. So he kind of goes to C tier. He's kind of like he's those older style of supervillains. Oh, he's not even a supervillain. He's just a villain, and he's really basic. He just wants to rule Gotham, which is cool. But you know, have some more motivation, man. Maybe start like a cool restaurant or something. I don't know, man. Just he looks like he wants pictures of Spider-Man. Give me pictures of Spider-Man. I don't know much about his stories, but it would be neat to see him butt heads with the Joker. He wouldn't really butt heads with Joker because Joker's insane, and he's more of like he's a mob boss kind of character. You know, they don't really fit well together. They're like oil that's on fire. You know, one of them is gonna kill the other, and that's Joker. Joker would kill him so fast. All right, next one is Scarecrow. I know this is another fan favorite of people's. Where is he? I think this is Scarecrow. Yes, this is Scarecrow. Don't get mad if you don't like the picture they chose. This is the picture that was on the top 30 list that I use. I like Scarecrow. I think he's really cool. His whole motif about scaring people is really fun. But he's also kind of very basic. He was a guy who was a professor and likes to he of psychology, and he wanted to scare people, and so he tried to force them to be more afraid. There's a bunch of stories where Joker takes head of Gotham's crime ring, so seeing Falcone's effort to kick Joker's ass is something I like to see. Scarecrow is a really cool character. The fact that he's all about making you afraid and bringing out your worst fears and controlling you through fear, that's really cool, really awesome. But his plans are usually kind of basic, just like spread fear toxin throughout the city and make everyone go insane. Like, oh, okay. But Joker does that too, and he does it better because he's more of a threat. Like, Batman's usually able to take down Scarecrow pretty easily. But I like him, but we've gotten him so much that we've gotten so many villains with much better backstory. Like, his whole backstory was just that he was into psychology, and then he kind of went a little insane and started doing crazy shit with his psychology and making the scare toxin that people kicked him out of the college, and now he's mad at the world. Angst. I mean, he's cool, but I'm gonna put him in C tier. He's for a Batman villain, he's pretty normal. Like, there's nothing really super special about him besides his toxin. So he kind of goes with Carmine, Falcone, and Penguin and all of them. They're very basic Batman villains. There's, it's the basic Batman villain kind of motif. We get another one. Catwoman. Now, Catwoman is again a character who she's gotten really popular, and she's not really a pure villain because all she really likes to do is steal stuff. So she doesn't want to kill anybody. She's not really a threat to people or the city or Gotham. So she's not going to go in S tier or A tier. And she actually helps Batman out a lot of times to stop other villains so she can steal more. So she's not very good as a villain even like that. She's a lot like modern day Harley Quinn, where sometimes she's bad, but most of the time she's pretty good. And because of that, she kind of gets dropped down to C tier for me, because she's not a great villain. She's a great thief, but not a great villain. So she's very basic. So I'm gonna put her in the C tier again. I like her a lot as a character. She's not a good villain. She's not a good villain, let's say. Are you seeing theft isn't villainous? Oh no, it's villainous. But is it more villainous than forcing people to put masks on their face that make their faces melt? Is it more villainous than killing kids because you think it's funny? Is it more villainous than eating people because they taste good? No, it's not. And so she goes to C tier. Man, these are just lining it. Catwoman. Ah ha ha! I see what you did there. All right, so we've got like 4 more left, I think. Let's see, I'm gonna take them out of the hat. Oh no, we've only got 3 left. Okay. So let's see, I'm gonna take this off and show you what the hat I've been pulling all these out of is now. First person to guess gets a high five. First person to guess what this hat is gets a high five. There we go. Yeah, here, I'll just hang them there. All right, so next one is going to be, what is this? Ah, Mr. Freeze. All right. For those of you, oops, no. For those of you who were here on Monday, you already know the answer to where I'm going to put Mr. Freeze, but I'm just going to... Gotta put you to the top there. For those of you who don't know who... Okay, here's the thing. You can tell I love a tragic backstory. And there is nothing more tragic than Mr. Freeze's backstory. His wife comes down with this horrible disease that makes her body slowly freeze until she dies, I think. And so he has to keep her in this one liquid that'll keep her alive until he finds a cure for it. And to find the cure, he I think he studied on himself, and it made his body super freezing cold, so he has to stay in this containment chamber, if I remember correctly. And then he ends up creating a bunch of different gadgets, like an ice gun and stuff like that. And so he wants to find a way to save his wife, and it's such a tragic backstory. And he's gotten so desperate and insane that he will do anything. He will kill people, he will destroy Gotham, but it's all to save his wife. And you know, it's a good thing to do, but it is selfish. And that's why he's a villain. Like, sure, he could be saving potentially tens of people, because it's supposed to be a really, really rare disease. So it's not hundreds of people, it's not thousands of people. It's maybe tens of people who could get this disease based on what I know. But I love his backstory. I love his powers. I love how smart he is. He is one of those genius characters. He was like the first genius supervillain I ever saw. I love him. I love that it's so easy to make puns with him. Nice to meet you, Batman. With the Arnold Schwarzenegger version. Oh my god. I love that, the joke of it. So he goes instant S tier for me. For me, he's S tier. I love Mr. Freeze, Dr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze, whatever you want to call him. I love him. He's S tier for me. I love his character. Tens of people out of 7, almost 8 billion. Holy fuck, that's actually meaningfully rare. Yeah, it's like super, super rare. That's why they don't have a cure for it yet. All right, I love Mr. Freeze. He is probably one of my favorite comic book villains. He's so cool. He's so interesting. He's so cold and calculating. Knee slapper. It's so easy to make jokes with him too. I love a good pun. He's like a free pun machine. He's a free pun machine. I love it. All right, so he goes instant S tier. Next one, let's see. This guy, Killer Moth. All right, I'm not even gonna explain this choice, because if you know anything about Killer Moth, I'm not even gonna like move him up in the list because I'm gonna be so fast with this. Instant F tier. Killer Moth sucks. Killer Moth is so boring. He's just a guy who wants to be respected, so he's a criminal, and he's just a criminal. Like, there's nothing interesting about him. He's just a criminal. I don't like everything I know about Killer Moth is he's just a criminal. Like, what is this? You couldn't come up with anything more interesting? Like, so instant F tier. Fuck him. All right, and we go on to the last one because it has to be the last one, but just to show you that I wrote it down and I didn't just wait till the end. Killer Moth, more like Killer Meh. True. And next we have Dr. Hugo Strange. Last but definitely not least, Hugo Strange is such an interesting character. Little fun fact: Hugo Strange existed before the Joker. They created Hugo Strange before the Joker, and he was originally going to be Batman's super arch nemesis. He is one of the coolest characters. He's the first character ever that we know of to figure out Batman's secret identity. He's this guy who's obsessed with supervillains. He ran Arkham Asylum in several different stories. He's psychologically tortured Bruce Wayne as Batman, and he's even been Batman himself a couple times. He's faked his death like hundreds of times. Not really, but like basically hundreds of times. He's faked being Batman for a while. He even has this weird, creepy female mannequin with Batman's cowl on it that he has relations with. It's really creepy, really fucking weird. He instantly goes to A tier for that, just that alone. But his genius, the level at which he's able to like plan things, he's like the ultimate in mastermind criminal villainy in Batman. He is such a cool character. I every time I see him in anything, he's interesting. I've never seen an iteration of Hugo Strange where he's been boring or where he's never piqued my interest. And they generally keep him mostly the same. Like they change like his motivation sometimes a bit, but for the most part, he's S tier. I think he deserves to be S tier. Now remember, none of this is I don't think any of my ideas are 100% fact. You don't have to follow any of them. But this is what I personally think of these characters. I need to make this a little bigger. There we go. Okay, I have to fit them in the thing, otherwise my brain gets annoyed. So this is my ranking of all of Batman's villains. We got Killer Moth at F tier because he's so useless. We got Sullivan Grundy and Calendar Man in E tier because they're just villains who are villains. Like, they have some interesting motifs to them sometimes, but there's nothing really interesting. They're kind of always just there. Clayface is the only guy who got D tier because he's actually kind of basic. There's not much that goes on with him. He's just like, I'm a supernatural, like he has potential, but he's not interesting. Then we got the basic Batman villains in the C tier with Penguin, Riddler, Mad Hatter, Hush, who would have been better, but they built him up so much and then he just fell. Harley Quinn is only here just because she's not a good villain. She's good as she's a great character, but not a good villain. Carmine Falcone is he's just a basic crime boss. He has some interesting stories, but he's usually interesting because of how he's connected to controlling Gotham, not so much because he himself is interesting usually. Scarecrow's a little basic. Yeah, he's insane, but so many characters in Batman are insane that it doesn't really help him. Again, Catwoman is a lot like Harley Quinn. She's not a great villain, but she's a good character. Then we've got Ventriloquist, who had this cool mystery about him that could have put him in A or S tier, but then because they announced, since they explained the mystery, it kind of I guess, sure, so it dropped him down to B tier. We get Joe Chill, who is the guy who started everything, the one, the only, the killer of Bruce Wayne's parents, Thomas and Martha Wayne. I finally remembered his dad's name. We got Killer Croc, who, I like his powers, but he's kind of basic. We get Jason Todd, who was the Red Hood, who had a cool story, but they've used his story so many times that it's a little watered down for me. Like, sure, it's cool, but sometimes when they use it, it's not that good. We get Black Mask, who's fucking insane, puts masks on people that melt their face. We get ManBat, who's an insane person with an insane power. Just so cool, so much fun. I love him. That's why he goes to B tier. We get Poison Ivy, who's a little bit better at being a villain than Harley Quinn and Catwoman, but she still gets relegated to B tier because she's not villainy enough for me. They do the same thing with her that they do with Harley Quinn and Catwoman, where she's the hero now, but in my eyes, she'll always be a villain who just plants are better than people, so we gotta kill all the people. We get TwoFace, who's really cool. He's got that dichotomy, but he's also they change him a lot with writers. Sometimes he's really evil, sometimes he's kind of evil, but most of the time he's somewhere in between. Like, what is he really? We get Zaz, who's got an insane backstory. Holy fuck. Thinks everybody's just dead inside, so he needs to kill them. That's fucking insane and fun to read. We get Joker. You know the Joker. But he's just not good enough to be S tier for me. He's fun. He's very simple. But he's just great as a mass murderer and just pure chaos. So he's a great villain. But for me, he's missing just a couple of components that keep him from S tier. Like, he could be greater. We get Deadshot, who has such a tragic backstory. He oh my god, he has such a tragic backstory. Killed his brother by accident while trying to save his father from killing his brother killing his father. Oh my god. Made him go down a path of sadness, and then he had a daughter, which kind of helped redeem him a bit, which is why he's not a perfect villain. We have Deathstroke, who would be a perfect villain. He would so be S tier, but they change how they write him all the freaking time. Sometimes he's crazy enough to let his son get slit in the throat, and sometimes he's like, I gotta save people. Like, which one is it, guys? Come on. We get Bane. Again, he's got that problem of they keep writing him. They change what he is. Is he a villain? Is he a good guy? He's somewhere in between, but he's got some really cool stories. He's got a cool character, so he gets to be A tier. We get Raj Al Ghul, who's fucking insane. Fucking crazy. Oh my god, love him. But he doesn't have really a great motivation for... He's just an assassin, the leader of assassins, wants Bruce Wayne to be the leader. That's about it. You know, I mean, his threat level alone puts him in A tier. He could have been S tier, but there's not enough of a motivation. Then we get Owlman, who is an alternate dimension, an alternate universe of Bruce Wayne's brother, who went insane when Bruce Wayne died, and now thinks there's no meaning in life and wants to end the universe. Holy fucking insane. On the same level as Batman, able to beat him in some cases, but his whole motivation is just Bruce Wayne died, so I have to destroy the universe. Like, come on, calm down, man. Then we get Hugo Strange, fucking insane, genius level, figured out who Bruce Wayne was. Bruce Wayne was Batman. Was gonna be the original antithesis to Batman until they created the Joker, who was after him. But he's so insane. Everything, his stories are always so great, so much fun. I love reading stories with Hugo Strange. Oh my god. Mr. Freeze, tragic backstory. Oh my god. I love his character. I love his motif. I love his ice powers. He's such a cool character. And I love how easy it is to make puns. And finally, we get Talia al Ghul, who, if she was just the daughter of the demon, just the person who wanted to make Bruce Wayne into the head of the demon, she would just be B or A tier. But because she birthed Damian Wayne, the most asshole-ish character ever, just a little shit, because she gave birth to him, she goes to S tier for making me read stories about Damian Wayne that suck. If she didn't give birth to him, she would not be S tier, but she did, so she goes to S tier. Oh my god. Horrible character. Anyways, guys, quick, I need a cool last name for my video game character. Vargoth. There we go. Vargoth. Vargoth. Oh, what did I miss? My internet disconnected. Man, Zaggard, chill with these puns. Actually, there's two versions of his backstory. One, that he was abused by his religious grandma until he went insane and pushed her down the stairs. And the other backstory is that his father was working on a serum to get rid of fear, and he tested it on Scarecrow, and one day the dad died while testing it on him and got left on the test chamber until people arrived, and that's where he got his fear fetish. Yeah, like, I forgot about those two backstories. Those are actually really cool. Those are good points, but I still think he kind of goes into C tier because I think there are some better characters who had better... You know, there are some better characters who have better motivations, much more interesting, more fun for me, really. It's more that they're more fun for me. It's not that I don't think Scarecrow is good, but he's kind of better as, like, not the main villain in the story, if you know what I mean. He's not the best main villain. He's a really good kind of villain of the week character. There we go. This is our tier list. And, just remember, if you didn't like my tier list, this is my personal opinion. I don't think I'm the best, but I do think it is 100% fact. Talia al Ghul gets ultimate S tier because she's the reason that we have Damian Wayne. So she gets ultimate S tier from that. You can't convince me otherwise. All right, guys. For those of you just watching the video, I'm signing off. See you next time when I do another tier list on Monday, because this was so much fun. So much fun. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for sticking around until the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, click that like button. If you want to watch more videos, click that subscribe button. If you want to join in the live next time, click the link in the description. I hope to see you all next time, and remember, don't believe in yourself, believe in me who believes in you.